Chris loves the one with him and Lady Gaga.
I think he's got a new one coming out.
No Bruno, no Weekend for me.
Chris, all right, one overreaction to start the Kings season. What's up?
Can we emphasize that this is a safe space, please, first, because I need to feel safe in doing this.
I'd say so.
Exercise.
We're here for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's just us three, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. If it's just us three, my overreaction for the season, and can't stress it enough, overreaction. I think Domantas Sabonis is the Kings' best player. I really do, and I think that this is kind of a take that I've been brewing for a couple of years now. It's just, especially during the regular season, I understand, if you look at that Kings Warriors postseason series, obviously that series is made and broken by De'Aaron Fox. I mean, the Kings don't stand a chance in that Warriors playoff series without De'Aaron, but it's just been way too many games now. If you count the 82 game schedule, where Domantas Sabonis is just so consistently there every single night, doing the same exact things, impacting the game in the same way, and it kind of doesn't matter who he's going against. I just feel like on a night in, night out basis, I know what Domantas Sabonis is going to bring, and more times than not, it exceeds what I think he's going to bring than De'Aaron Fox, and it's not even meant to be again, I don't have to put somebody down to bring somebody up, but it's more just I think that De'Aaron has a little bit more inconsistency, and I've definitely more so been on the side of I like his threes, and his more specifically his pull-up threes have been driving me insane, and so I just think, even though I get the Domantas Sabonis mid-range shots have been frustrating, and the lack of aggressiveness, I just think, especially after the games that we've seen this season, the lack of aggressiveness to me is completely gone. Like, he's not hesitating for even a quarter of a second on these threes. He's letting them fly. He's dominating in the post. I just think he's the Kings' best player. Full stop. I'm incredibly impressed by him every single night, and it feels like if Domantas Sabonis doesn't have a good game, I think it's really tough for the Kings to win.
But I feel like that's how it's always been, though. The latter part you said.
Then maybe he's always been the best player. Yeah. And it's just, again, I think the narrative is that De'Aaron Fox is the higher scorer. He's the younger player. He's the guard. His game is a little bit more flashy. He's got the speed angle to it. And Domantas Sabonis, as we know, is nothing but criticized in national circles. So I think that plays a big part of it. But I do think, to your point, again, I've been kind of brewing this for a couple of years, because I think Sabonis just night in, night out, since he got here, pretty much has just been the Kings' best player.
I agree with you, Chris, by the way. I kind of felt this way since like the middle of last year, is that Sabonis is the best player. And there's kind of like, he's the all NBA player last year, MVP finalist, had higher win shares, higher efficiency rating. Like, I think he's the best player on the Kings.
Yeah, I think I think not the issue, but what we've kind of gathered throughout the last couple of years is that Sabonis is the guy who you can, for lack of a better term, depend on more. But when you need to get a bucket at the end of the game, that's not necessarily your guy.
Yeah, but I think that's centers in general too.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that a lot of times people liken that person to your best player. Right. I mean, Jokic is kind of a hybrid of everything. Yeah. But even Jokic,
he's the exception to the rule.
He is the exception to the rule. But even Jokic will find somebody in a corner, and because it's such a good pass or whatever, they'll still win that ball game. So I don't really think it. I think the question has always been, or the conversation has always been, Domas is more consistent. Domas is somebody who produces more night in, night out. But De'Aaron Fox has the higher ceiling. De'Aaron Fox, if the best version of this team is De'Aaron Fox better than Domas. And I think adding DeMar DeRozan, I no longer know if that statement is true.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think this overreaction is also meant to more so be based off of what we've seen from this season too. Like, it's more just that now I am unafraid, as I say, this is a safe space. I'm now more unafraid to go out there and just say it, because he's got the points to put it up. 24.3 points per game this season, 11 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 67% from the field. As Kyle mentioned earlier, 55% from three on 2.8 per game, 76% at the line. And the craziest stat to me, shout out Will Z Stats of Sports Illustrated, put this out, 97 points this season on 53 field goal attempts. That almost sounds like you're shooting 100% from the field. Like that, that is absolutely insane. You're not supposed to have numbers like that. 97 points on 53 field goal attempts.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible, man. And well, the other thing is what you're seeing now, and obviously the outside looking in who just see numbers, they might not see it. But what you're seeing now is Domas. It's not just a matter of the empty calories and, oh, well, he's holding his usage is the highest. That's why he's putting up these numbers. Now it's more of a matter of Domas taking it.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just, well, who else is the team going to go to? It has to go through Domas. No, and we can see it in some of the assist numbers. It is not just the Domas show, but when he gets it, he is making sure his presence is felt. And you would only know that if you're truly watching the Kings and not the score box.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it too, actually. As I say that stat about Domas, DeMar DeRozan equally as impressive, 92 points on 58 shots. So, I mean, they just in total have been incredibly efficient. But again, it's more so just a statement on the aggressiveness that we've seen from Sabonis on the offensive end this year. I just can't remember a time in which it felt like he was getting to the basket and scoring so easily. Like you said earlier, last year, we definitely, and I don't feel bad about it, we questioned what his offensive bag is. Like, it seems like it's a lot of, our friend in the Bay Area, shoulder. Yeah. And there, we laughed about it, but there is some truth to it in that it was a power game. It wasn't much finesse, and he has great footwork, but a lot of the time it didn't really feel like Sabonis was mixing dudes or was just getting to the rim with ease. We already saw him throw it down on Anthony Davis in transition. He had some crazy moments last night where he just looked more dominant and physical and was getting easy shots at the rim. It feels like he's missing less of these bunnies that he traditionally misses every single game. I just have been incredibly impressed with him. And it like last night more than ever, it felt like in the same way in that Laker game, we just had to say, we have nobody to put on Anthony Davis or LeBron James. Last night was the first time I really felt like, oh my gosh, the Utah Jazz just have nobody, like not a single answer for who to put on Domantas Sabonis. You put Kessler on him, Sabonis is going to go through him. He's going to go around him. You put John Collins on him. He's just not strong enough to even touch Domantas Sabonis. And so I've just been so incredibly impressed with him through 4 games.
Shoulder. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
From the 530, I think the empty calorie conversation with Domas is because he is not the man at the end of the game. But let's go through some of these other big men, though. And who is the big men? It just is different, right? And why it's different with Domas and other big men, I'm not sure. Now, I'm not comparing Domas to these guys, but here's the reality. Shaquille O'Neal, was he the man necessarily at the end of the game?
No.
He had Kobe.
That's what Kobe was
all right.
for.
Even Jokic. I know I just brought up Jokic, but it's Jamal Murray.
And that's why they look like they've taken a step back this year.
Exactly. So, they're out there battling with the Brooklyn Nets with Russell Westbrook having to hit threes.
Years ago, Giannis said specifically, I have Chris Middleton to take that last shot.
Yeah, so I don't know why Domas gets held to a different standard. He's asked to, and I know that's not what you're saying, 530. We're just saying from the outside looking in. I don't know why that Domas gets looked at as, oh, he's got to do everything when nobody is saying that Jokic has to do everything. Who's another great big, Chris? I mean, Embiid's
got Maxey.
Embiid's got Maxey. I would say Tim Duncan back in the day.
Terrible in the clutch.
Anthony Davis,
right?
Although he hit that one against the Nuggets in the playoffs.
And he hit that one against us the other day.
Yeah, he did.
But that was also,
he's not a center. He doesn't want to be a center.
And the tough part is with centers, the reason why they aren't going to in the clutch is because they don't create their own shot typically. I mean, obviously in clutch situations, you're looking for mid-range shots. You're looking for guys to create space, and that's obviously not a big man's game. Big man's game, a lot of the time, especially in the half court, is throw it in the post and create a move. And that's not the kind of shot you want at the end of game. So you're naturally having a really tough time. And even I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at the early in the season clutch totals. Sabonis, 16th in the league in clutch points right now. Granted, only 8 points in the clutch, but still, nonetheless, even then, he's finding moments to still score in the clutch.
916. I think where it really counts, and this is a conversation we haven't had because they didn't go to a playoff series last season. 916. I think where it really counts is the postseason. None of these guys have won a playoff series. Well, minus DeMar. We might be in trouble unless his next postseason series is better than his past. Hoping for the best and very optimistic this year.
For sure.
That's from Mark. Yeah, that's definitely part of it,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, everybody we just brought up, they did it in the postseason besides Embiid. And I'm not even really a big Embiid guy per se. I think Embiid, he has to choose his spots, and he's never really there for his spots, or they're too far gone when he is there for his spots.
But think about it, 2 years ago against Boston, it was Harden hit the game winner in game 3. Harden hit that shot at the logo against the Celtics. It's like he's had guys even over the years who are there to take those shots.
That's true. That's true.
Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, or Harden, or now Maxey. He has had those guys.
Yeah, so everybody needs a guy like that. I think honestly, Chris, I think what the 916 is saying about the postseason stench still hanging around, that might be more of it from a national standpoint than the quote unquote finishing games thing. I think that might be more of it, because that's the last time everybody paid attention to Sabonis, because I don't think it's so much of, he's got to take over at the end of games. I think it's, he didn't do what he normally does even early in games during the postseason. So they can dead all of those convos and all of those narratives this season if they take care of business. We get to my overreaction or to start the season, and what has impressed you so much or that much from the Kings so far. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.